vocation, and then we'll also get into the business side of it. So Ahmed Hassan Saab is the owner of Wandsworth Driving School, where he runs a growing driving instruction business and manages a team of instructors. In this talk, we will share his journey of turning a vocation into a sustainable business, highlighting key lessons and exploring opportunities that are beyond traditional minicab and taxi routes, which I'm sure will be, inshallah, interesting to all of you listening today. So, Hassan Saab, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How are you? All right with yourself?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Well, we were just discussing how busy the end of the year period was in December, particularly.
Yes.
And it
Yeah,
just
it was
occurred to me that
extremely busy.
your business must see a lot of sort of periods of like extreme busyness and then maybe a bit of downtime as well.
Yeah.
So please, if you wouldn't mind, just take us through this journey of how to become a driving instructor.
Okay. Okay. Jazakumullah. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, just as introduction, I want to tell people that I used to be a minicab driver, and when I was doing it was before the arrival of Uber. There used to be small cab offices, and we were very much on the mercy of the controllers over there. Then it became the Uber one, and again at the mercy of the Uber, their choice. Then I decided to become a driving instructor, and which actually changed my life because I used to work night times, daytimes there was no jobs. Even if there were jobs, it was so busy on the roads. Okay, so it was quite a challenge to drive taxis, minicab in the daytime with a less number of jobs. Nighttime is a more number of jobs, but sometimes very nasty customers, very disrespectful, so many challenges of behavior. Anyway, so I thank God that I have changed it to driving instructor, and I invite all those who are joining us today that they should seriously think about it. It's a very uh, professional white collar job. You are an instructor, you earn respect when you tell people, people treat you as their instructor, as their teacher. Okay, so it's an entirely different world. So just to become a driving instructor, I'll, I'll focus on that thing. The first of all, that you have to register yourself with the DVSA to create an account and then apply for a DBS check. So once you create the account, apply for the DBS check, and you receive it, let's say within 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully, then you are given a PRN, which is called personal reference number. So personal reference number is your, let's say, reference all through your journey when it stays with you all the time. Okay. So eligibility criteria is you must be at least 21 year old. You can have an automatic license or a manual license. Okay, if you have a manual license, you can teach both. If you have an auto license, you can only teach automatic. Okay, and your license must be 3 years old. Okay, if you have EU license, you're still eligible to do the driving instructor business. Okay. So once you are allocated one PRN, person reference number, then you are able to book a theory test, okay, which costs you £81. And in these days, there's no big queues. You can find it in a couple of weeks' time, any slot, anywhere around here. If you are in London, you can find one in Morden or Kingston or anywhere else, okay. And that test lasts about 100 minutes, 100 questions in 100 minutes, okay. And you have to have 86 points to pass it. Slightly tricky here that once you see the 100 questions, no question tells you the which category that question belong to, but internally the DVSA know that there are four categories and 25 questions are asked from each category. The minimum score you must have to pass the theory test is 20 from each category, That will make 80, which will not pass you. So you must be having at least 22, 22, 22, another 3, so you can make it 86. So at no point it should be less than 86, and at no point it should be less than 20 in any single category. So once you pass that, and you also have to do the hazard perception test, and the 53 is the passing mark for that one. So once you pass that one, then you are allowed to sit in a part 2 exam. Part 2 is your own skill. So you will have to drive for 1 hour onto multiple roads, mainly speedier roads, local roads as well. And you're doing the maneuvers, okay, like a parallel parking or parking in a bay, okay. And that is quite strict test. Once you sit in the car, the very first thing the examiner tells you that they say, don't, please don't mind, I'm going to be harsh in marking. That is a typical sentence they tell you every time somebody gets into for part 2, okay, because the passing mark is a 6 minimum or 6 minor faults. Generally learners are allowed to have 15 minor faults, but the instructors only allowed to have 6. If you accumulate 7 or more, you fail the test, you have to reset it, okay. So you to do the part 2 and then the part 3, which coming later on, you have 2 years time from the date you pass your theory test. Okay, if you are unable to pass the part 3 and your 2 years pass, you have to redo all of those steps again, like registration. So you have to re-register, although the PRN stays the same. Then you apply a DPS check and you apply a theory and then the part 2 again. So once you do the part 2 test, okay, then you are eligible to do a paid lesson system, or let's say part 3. So there are two ways to do. So here I would explain it again, that after the part 2 you have two paths. Either you don't give lessons and only start taking lessons from senior instructors, and you try your part 3 with a student, or you choose to become a PDI, okay, means you have a 40-hour compulsory training, okay, and once you complete that training you apply for a PDI badge. Once you receive a badge, you can start giving paid lessons, means you can start earning money, okay. Like minicabs, as you have to be with the a cab office, at this stage you must be affiliated with a driving school. So you cannot work on your own or independently. So you must be doing with anybody, any driving school. Once you complete that one, your license valid for 6 months, and you can apply another one. So in reality, you have 12 months to pass your part 3 test. But once you receive your PDI badge, okay, after completing the 40 hours, okay, then you have to have a 90-day period where you complete another 20-hour compulsory course, compulsory lessons. Okay. So once you complete that 90 days, within that 20 hours within the 90 days, okay, then you can carry on doing the lessons, and you still have the 12 months time from your PDA badge to complete your part 3. Okay. So what is a part 3? Part 3 is your teaching and instructional skills. In a nutshell, you will be teaching somebody for 40 minutes. So you sitting on the passenger seat, and somebody, your student, partly trained person, driving, and you can choose a subject. Let's say for the day you telling them how to um, use the roundabouts safely, or let's say how to use the dual carriageways, or let's say how to turn right from the bigger junctions, box junctions. Any topic. There are many. There are more than 40 topics. You can choose any topic, okay, of your choice, okay, according to the need of that partly trained student, and you give them a 40 minutes lesson starting from a test center, coming back to the test center, and your examiner, not your student's examiner, it's your examiner sitting at the back seat quietly making a note that how good you are in conveying the message. The key here is if you want to pass the part 3, tell yourself, ask yourself whether you've been talking all through the 40 minutes or you made your student talking and telling. If you were talking all the time, as sometimes people do, you're showing your knowledge, which is not required because your examiner knows you have passed theory test, you have passed part two, so he knows that you have the knowledge. He just want to know that have you conveyed that knowledge to your student. So once you ask question, make it interactive. That those 40 minutes, ask him questions, okay, and then if he replies right, appreciate him. If he replies wrong, tell him the right answer. So after those 40 minutes you can get your result. 51 is a total mark and you required 31, which is minimum to pass. If it is less than 31, then sorry, you have to sit that test again. Okay, so once you pass the theory test, I go back to the theory test, you have 3 tries within the 2 year time to pass your part 2 test. If you fail first try, if you fail second try, you can try it third time. Similarly, for your test part 3, you still have 3 tries, whatever the remaining period is for the 2 years. You can do 3 tries, and if you pass at any try, you have the license, which is called ADI status. Okay, PDI is a provisional driving instructor. ADI is approved driving instructor. Means you are fully qualified. You are a professional instructor. You will be given a 4 years badge, and it is renewed after 4 years. Pre-COVID time, it is called standards check. So for every 4 years there was a standards check. But after COVID, there's a huge backlog, and it is an unannounced, unwritten thing that they are not going to do these state the renewals check as well. Okay, because otherwise it used to be every instructor do his part 3 again after 4 years, but at the moment they're not doing it just because of the backlog. So let's say if your license is expired there, you simply fill up a form and you get another 4 years license. Okay, so that is IDA status. That is the stage where you can no longer where you are no longer required to be with a school. You can start your own school, you can start up your own business, okay, or you can carry on with anybody if you like. Okay, so again, briefly, you can see at this slide the all these stages of becoming an ADI. Okay, so that's all about the become how to become ADI. So once again, you have to apply, then you have to pass the theory test, then you have to pass the driving test, which is your own driving skills, then a compulsory training of 40 hours, then it's a compulsory training of 20 hours, then a lesson of 40 minutes when where your examiner sits, they call SE, senior examiners. So not every examiner which you see on the test center, they are eligible to take your test. Only the senior examiners in our zone, which is called Zone D, which covers Farnborough, Guildford, Mitcham, uh, Morden, and Chertsey, Tolworth. These areas, there are only 4 SEs, 4 senior examiners. So it's quite difficult in these days to get a slot. Okay. So that's all from my side, Vijay sir.
Yeah, Jazakallah Sansab. That was very informative. We have had a few questions just on that journey of to become an instructor. So
Okay.
I'll just run through a few of them. I think that last slide is actually pretty good to leave up just because it's a really good summary of the journey
Okay.
um, you need to take. So one member's question has been, how long does it take to become a fully fledged instructor, assuming that the individual has already held a license of, a driving license for 3 years.
Okay, so there is no time limit. As I said, well, it takes about sometimes 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get your DBS check. Okay, So that is the point where nobody can do anything. So you
Yeah.
just have to apply and wait. Once you receive it, okay. So I would say the speed of becoming ADI is mostly depending upon the candidate and a little bit depending upon the finding appropriate slot. For example, once you get the PRN after the DBS check, and you try to find a theory test, okay, you can find it within 4 days, maybe next day, okay. So it's entirely up to you that when can you be ready for that one. There are apps available, there are material available, content available on gov.uk website. Sorry, excuse me. So if you can prepare yourself, let's say in a week time, so just go and sit at the exam and you get the part one. Now it comes to the part two. Okay, once again, there's no time limit. If you are lucky enough to find a slot, okay, on DVS's website, it may be next day, it may be a week later. I wouldn't recommend to do it within, let's say, 1 or 2 days. I would say, although there is no requirement to have lessons before taking that part two, but I strongly recommend, rather than wasting your time and money, it's better, if you are a driver already, consider having 4 or 5 lessons from a ADI. So just to be prepared that
Yeah.
what comes into the part two. Once you have part two, you pass the part two, again the part three is to become a full-fledged driving instructor. But you can still start earning from after part two if you complete the 40 hours training. And let's say if you're doing 2 hours a day, you can complete 40 hours in 20 days. Okay. And then you have your license and you start working straight away with any driving school.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank Jazakallah. I think that answers it perfectly.
Okay.
So I think a few of the steps, it just depends on how long it takes you to be confident to sit the theory test.
Yes.
Etc.
Yeah.
We had another question, Asan Saab. What is the best way to do part three if you are already doing a full-time job? So I think the member's question relates to sort of maybe how flexible it is, whether weekend flexibility is there, if someone's already trying to maintain a full-time job.
Okay, if they are doing job, obviously they have to look for their day offs. Most people have day off on weekends.
Yeah,
Some may be on a rotation. So there are lots of teachers available, okay, in this industry. So I think you can find people. Maybe let's say somebody's doing a 9 to 5 job, and he wants to be trained after 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. There are people available, okay, who can give you the lessons, okay.
yeah,
So there are some Ahmadi instructors, including myself, okay, who don't mind that you don't need to pay, okay. You can come and you can sit at the back seat while we teaching somebody, and you can observe.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's very helpful because
Yeah.
flexibility is, I think, what everyone's looking for these days.
Yeah.
The next question, Asan Saab, is it's an interesting one. It's more a take on the vocation itself.
Yeah.
So the member of the audience is asking, um, do you feel that there might be too many people jumping into this field of becoming an instructor, and is there a danger of the market becoming too saturated? I know you touched on the fact that we're so short on examiners, and like we briefly discussed, there's sort of busy
Yeah.
periods and quiet and more quieter periods. But what's your take on sort of how crowded this sector is becoming?
I can tell you from my experience, when I started in 2022, okay, it was extremely busy at that time. Okay, and then people starting coming. I would say the influx of people started coming into it. Okay, and I was of the same thought. Okay, but
Mhm.
when I started my business, okay, so let's say it seemed that it was fully saturated, but no, that's not the right assumption. Okay, so if you are um, having a good knowledge, if you have a good way to teach people, if you can do some hard work, okay,
Hmm.
So you may see somebody passed and they've gone. No, they haven't gone. Okay, they are bringing people back to you. Okay, so
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how saturated it may seem to be, but it's not.
Good, good. So I guess that should hopefully motivate people
Yeah,
to do this if they're in similar fields. One other question was just I think you've already answered this, but just to reiterate, it was
sure.
if you're 21 and you've already held a license for 3 years,
Yeah.
um, you can get straight into becoming a driving instructor.
Yes, you can.
And you wouldn't see any issue with balancing that alongside maybe university degree while these some of the younger members are still studying.
I've got I've got friends who are bus drivers, and they're doing the driving instruction business at the weekends or they're on their day offs. I have people who go to university, okay, at their final stages, final years, okay, and they're doing the driving instruction as a side business, as they're earning money to fund their education,
Mhm.
okay. So I think it's quite easy for them to manage
Good, good.
because as you can see, the instructors can find their own way to work around the timings. There are lots of university students and others who wants to learn to drive, or there are some people who work in NHS and some, and they're so busy and they are looking for people who can give them lessons, let's say 9 p.m. or 7 a.m. 7 p.m. Or early in the morning before they go to the uni. So
Mhm.
that's the other side of the business as well. So if you are free at that time, you have customers for that time.
Perfect.
Okay.
And a few members are also asking about what's the cost of all of this? How much does each stage cost to sort of, you know, assuming
Um,
you pass on the first time, what should people be expecting on that front?
I would say that including the lessons somebody taking to get themselves trained, okay, somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, the main price. Remember, it depends upon the number of lessons you take, because the DVSA fees are not that much. The theory test fee is £81.
Hmm.
Part two fee is 111.
Yeah.
Part three fee is 111 again. If you apply for a PDA badge, it takes 140 for the 6 months, because they only issue for 6 months PDA badges. If you need another 6 months, you have to pay 140 again. Okay, so once you pass the ADI, which is part three, so you have to pay £300 to get a 4 year license. So that is all official costs.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
so rest is depending upon the number of lessons. Some people are quite sharp; they can be ready in 10 lessons. Some may need more.
Fine. Jazakallah. And another question, we will move to the business side of Asan Saab's vocation shortly, but just a few more questions
Okay.
on this side of things. One member is asking, would you think it's worth it for just a driving instructor to do this part-time? Or do you, considering the insurance costs that they might have as well, is it worth someone doing this part-time on the side?
Okay. Surprisingly, the insurance cost, the thought about it, even my own thought was, I was thinking, oh, it's going to, because you're going to have new drivers all the time, so it must be very high. Okay. So it's not. The first year, it generally costs you like a minicab costs you around 1,200, 1,500 somewhere,
Mhm.
unless somebody had accidents or the things that that costs you more, even for the normal insurance. Okay, so
Mhm.
it stays between the um, let's say the about between 1,500 to 2,000. Okay,
Mhm.
and sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear
No,
you.
sorry, a call.
I think
It's
you got a call, but but
Yeah,
no,
yeah, somebody's call, so that connected in the, it
that's
was on the
okay.
WhatsApp, so that's why it
No
interrupted.
problem, no problem.
Okay,
Please
sorry
carry
about
on.
that.
Yeah.
So, where was I?
You were just saying about the
Insurance. Yeah.
yeah.
So once you got a 1 or 2 years experience, then it goes down to somewhere around 700, 800. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Last year I found my one for 560.
perfect. So it's a pretty reasonable, basically, and
Yeah,
so
it's pretty
as a
reasonable.
result, there should be plenty of scope to do this
Oh yes.
part
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Um, so let me just see if there's any more before we move on to the business side. Um, Okay. I think there are some more questions, but I think
Okay,
they relate a little bit more to the business side, us and sub. So
okay,
I guess to our audience, one element is obviously us and sub having the qualifications to become an instructor,
okay.
and the second important element is then once, like you touched on in your presentation, us and sub, you have to initially work for one of these registered schools
Yes.
and practice. And then at what point do you think you can branch off on your own? How do you do that? So can you please give us maybe an overview of the business element of what you do, your company?
Okay, sure. So the business element thing is first of all address the thing that how long it takes once you join a school. Okay, I see some people they don't bother to um, start their own business. So I have a friend who's been ADI for at least last 15 years, and he's still working with that school where he started as a PDI.
Hmm.
Okay, so somehow he's not bothering to do that, so it's their choice. So, but you are free from the moment you become ADI. You pass the part 3 test. Okay, it's entirely your choice. Obviously, you shouldn't be leaving the school right then and there. Okay, you should start up, and for the startup, you can because once you are ADI, you don't need your school's permission to have your own students.
Hmm.
Okay, there's no legal requirement, and the schools cannot stop you. So you can start, let's say, make some business cards and start with that, going around the mosque, going around the market, and give them the the business cards. If you can have a website, which is very useful, if you can make a Facebook page, if you can make some TikTok videos, okay.
Hmm.
So there are lots of ways to start your business, especially the website, and there are lots of free website services as well. You can use them for the time being. Okay, if you want to make a very basic one.
Hmm.
Okay, and you can buy your own domain.
Hmm.
So in reality, you don't need to fill up any licensing papers for to set up all of these things. Okay, it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. You choose the name of your own school, even if it is you alone. Okay, you can still call it a school. Okay, and or you can ask some instructors, as I have a couple of them with me. Okay, so then you can ask them for a franchise fee.
Hmm.
There are different people who are charging from £50 to £200, so that is your money as well. So you're giving them job. Obviously, you can't cover all of them, so you can still earn from others.
Hmm.
Okay, you give them the business, they give you the fee. Okay, and it's entirely depends upon you the how speedier you want to set it up, but it's not a challenge at all, honestly. Okay, you just have to be committed with it.
Perfect.
Okay.
And so we had a few more questions then on that side. How do you, how, is there a process for marketing for your business to get more instructors to work for you? How do people approach you? How do you do that side of thing, recruiting
Okay.
people?
uh, to bring instructors within your business, you have to talk to them. Okay,
Hmm.
generally people are not because they're once they see your advertise, they're not aware that how popular you are, okay, or and whether if they come with you, whether they're going to get a more business than their previous school or not. So it's quite I would say the personal effort, okay.
Hmm.
So you will have candidates to learn the drive, students, let's call them clients, but the instructors, you have to find them, you have to talk to them. There are many, as I said, there are people, okay, and they're looking for the different schools. Sometimes people work for more than one school.
Hmm.
Once you are a ADI, you can work for your own school. You can also have students for other schools. You can give them your number, that if they are, let's say, having more number of people with they cannot fit, so they can pass it on to you, and you
Hmm.
can work on there. You can set up some commission with them, okay, if you like.
And what would that be roughly? How would the commissions work? How would the fees work?
Okay,
What's
generally the
industry standard?
schools are charging £50 a week for a part-time instructor,
Okay,
okay, and from £90 to 100, for a full-time instructor.
okay.
Okay.
And so in that time, the individual driving instructor can do as many lessons as
Yeah,
they
yeah. So once you are the full-time,
yeah.
okay, with the school, then there's no restriction on number of lessons. Okay,
Okay.
I know some people work for with AA,
Yeah.
because AA is as a driving school. They generally do four or five lessons in a day,
Mhm.
almost doing whole day in the car.
Yeah.
And some do three lessons a day, but they do four or five on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, so one lesson generally costs you generally earn you £75.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say doing four lessons, because the lesson is a 2 hour lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you doing four lessons in a day. Okay, which
Yeah.
is quite normal. Four lessons mean 8 hours. So people who do taxi, they sit in the taxi more than that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they can do 8 hour on the lessons with their breaks, let's say 30 or 40 minute break within them. So it's going to be 10 hours a day. Okay, but they earn £300 in that case for that day, four lessons.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. No.
so
So
which is very good money. If
yeah.
they're not doing, let's say, 4 hours,
Hmm.
okay, they want to go on a slow pace, they can do three in a day. Let's
Hmm.
say two in the morning, one in the evening. They're still earning 225 a day. And some postcodes you can charge more. Some postcodes which are close to you can charge less. Weekends you can charge more. Night times, if you're giving a lesson, you can charge more. Very early morning, if you're giving a lesson, you can charge more than the normal price.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So we're comfortably talking about, roughly 4,000 a month, uh,
Yes, very
before
easily.
tax. And so is there what that was going to be my next question, I guess, is like what's the for a full-time instructor, what's their day-to-day life looking like? How many you said there's no limit for a full-time instructor, so they could do potentially even more than that.
Yes, yes, it entirely depends upon them, how dedicated they are, how free they are to give that time to their business, okay, to the lesson in the field.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if lesson means you will have someone in your car,
Yeah.
okay. So, and you are not sitting somewhere on the road waiting for next job, okay. You already have the job. You have to be quite committed, okay,
Yeah.
because the thing with that is the people who, let's say, work for Uber, okay,
Mhm.
if they don't want to go to the job, nobody calling them to come to the job, okay. So they can be off job, let's say 1 day or 1 hour or maybe more than that, okay. But for this business, people sometimes book 3 weeks in advance, okay.
Mhm.
So they book their holiday, they book, sometimes they book their day offs. Let's say I have sometimes people who tell me that they can only have a lesson on that particular day,
Yeah.
and if I call them on that day in the morning, they're, oh, so I'm sorry, I can't come. I have to go do something.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay. So on a personal account, please let me share something.
Yes.
Okay. because I don't know whether somebody has asked this question or not.
Yeah.
Okay, because after all, we are all Ahmadis. Okay,
Yes.
we have to go to Jalsa Salana, we have to go to meetings, we have to go, let's say, career fair yesterday.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have to attend these type of things. People may think that it becomes difficult. It's quite easy with the taxi. Okay, but no, I work in more than three capacities in Jamaat.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I always know that whenever there's a, let's say, the career fair was coming few weeks ago, I received the information.
Hmm.
So I put that in my diary. So I did not book anybody for that time. Okay.
Hmm.
So when once I did not book anybody for that time, so I'm totally free to attend that function. If there is a Jalsa Siratul Nabi, if there is a, let's say, journal meeting, if there are my kids' class, okay, I know that I'm going to take them that day, that time, and coming back. So I would say it's the life becomes quite disciplined, okay, in that way. And I find it easy to manage all of these things along with my business.
No, I think that's a really important point.
Yeah,
And that's what a lot of people are seeking nowadays is that
yeah,
flexibility to do,
yeah,
Jamaat work or other jobs or other side
yeah,
projects that they want to also do. We've had a few questions. So we touched upon Asan Sab, the how you market and how you maybe recruit other instructors.
okay.
How do you recruit students? Do you what's your main method for that? Is it more
Uh,
advertising on social media? Is it app?
it's more of actually um, my website.
Yeah.
Okay, so I pay Google for the advertisement.
Okay.
Okay, and it's again in your hands. Let's say at one time, if you, as I was so busy in December, okay, so I paused that campaign because my fellow instructors were full busy as well. Okay, so in that way, on one side, you're still getting some students, although not that speed,
Hmm.
but we did not have place to fit them.
Hmm.
Okay, and I was not paying anything to Google at that time. Okay,
Yeah.
and then I restarted it. So I would say, and you can set up your own business of advertisement. It's not unlimited money that you set up with the Google and they keep charging you. You can
Hmm.
tell them that don't charge me more than a £50 a month or more than £100 a month. Okay,
Hmm.
so it's depending upon the how good business you get. I found it very useful.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Obviously, I just want to make clear one thing once you start with. So don't expect that influx of calls or things in the first, let's say, 3 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, it will take time. Okay.
And do you have any plans to sort of widen the scope of your marketing? So like aside from
Yes.
Google,
My plan is that I should have at least 40 instructors in future, in very near future, inshallah.
inshallah, inshallah. Good. We did have one quick question before we
Yeah.
move on to this slide. I think that you
Sure.
are comparing a minicab business with driving instructor.
Okay.
We had one question from a member asking how trustworthy are the ads they see online to sort of so they've quoted fees of 1700 for ADI.
Okay. So I would say that do not trust on these type of things. Okay,
Perfect. Yeah.
because once you paid
Yeah.
and you don't become, or you couldn't able to um, complete it. Okay,
Hmm.
how would you get your money back?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can tell you one thing. Okay, it's again a personal experience.
Hmm.
One of my students had a test today.
Hmm.
He paid a lot of money,
Yeah.
and I was quite confident that he will pass.
Hmm.
He failed in the first 60 seconds, okay,
Hmm.
because he was asked to turn right, and the person who was coming from the right side, who had the priority, he gave him way, he waved at him, okay.
Okay.
So Seems quite clear. But a motorbike came from behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the why I gave that example, the once you doing the training, let's say somebody saying, "Oh, we'll make your ADI in 1,600 pounds and 1,700 pounds." If something like this happen on your test, your own test,
Something
and
goes.
you fail the test, okay, so you are responsible for that action, because if you trusted somebody waving at you and you took action and
Yeah.
that went wrong, okay, that person who was advertising 1,600 or 1,700, he will walk away. He will say, sorry, it was your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you should have been careful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would say that if it sounds like that, it's not true, honestly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I would say anybody who's guaranteeing you to make you pass in one certain amount of money, they
Mm-hmm.
are just after that money.
Mm-hmm. Um, Another question that's just come through, and I think we talked about this briefly before the session started, us and Sab, is that there's
Yeah.
a big, obviously, social aspect, I think, to the job.
Yeah.
You need to build rapport with the student you're with.
Yes.
And obviously, if you build that rapport well enough, that student is more likely to want to come to you again and again. And obviously, then probably a big way that your business spreads is through word of mouth.
Yeah.
So, how fluent does an individual need to be in English? And how much of that social aspect would you say people need to sort of focus on and practice? And what's your method of getting around that?
Okay. While I say that being fluent in English and let's say, being good in English
Hmm.
does help. Okay. But
Hmm.
people should think that not every student is fluent in English as well.
Hmm.
Okay. There are lots of nationalities in UK, and they struggle to understand if you are a, let's say, good speaker of English language, your student may not be very comfortable with you. Okay,
Hmm.
because if they don't have that ability themselves, okay,
Hmm.
then they struggle as well. So I have seen people um, uh, doing the instructor business for, let's say, for last decade, okay,
Hmm.
and they sometimes come to me and ask me to read that letter for them,
Hmm.
okay, and once I ask the senior examiner, remember, it's examiner, is not a fellow instructor,
Yeah.
okay, so I asked the examiner that how come you pass people who do not speak very good English?
Yeah.
Then he told me, and his answer was very right answer. He said, I'm here to see whether he can convey the message, whether he can tell the student that how to drive safely. Okay, I'm not here to judge his English ability of English language. Okay,
Hmm.
if he can pass the message even by, let's say, by body language, by explaining with examples, okay, by explaining with situation, by explaining with the help of some YouTube videos, okay,
Hmm.
the examiner said, I'm fine with it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think English language, not knowing a good English is a barrier in that one.
Yeah. I think, like you said, you can communicate in other ways as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways to communicate.
Yeah. Primary objective being safety on the road, isn't it? And making sure that your
Just taking advantage of this session, I tell them people that sometimes I try to explain it different ways to my students, and I fed up with that. And then one simple trick works: demonstration. I
yeah.
tell them, okay, you don't understand my words? Come to the other seat, see how how I deal with that roundabout or with that junction.
Yeah.
Okay? In 2 minutes' time, they start copying it.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we've Asan Sab, I know this isn't related directly to your work and your business, but we've had a few people just asking the quick question of nowadays it's so difficult to book on, for practical tests.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people? What's the best way to maybe get that booked and done? Because I remember you saying there's only three sort of senior examiners in the area. Um,
Okay.
I'm
So,
sure.
no, no, is this question about booking the driving instructor's tests or general tests for, let's say, for their kids? So,
If you could answer both.
Okay. So first, I address the general driving test, manual or automatic, for
Yeah,
let's say for kids, for family members, for friends.
yeah.
Okay. So I would say, because I'm part of too many groups in this business. Okay, nationally, and so I would say the overwhelming majority of those who are selling these slots are not legitimate. Okay, they are scammers.
Okay,
Okay, so do not pay people. Okay, the normal cost of government's cost is a £62 for a test. Okay, if it is on a weekday, and £75 if it is on a weekend. But people are charging 300, 400, even £500. Okay, and then they just switch off their phone, and you
yeah,
don't get anything. Okay,
yeah.
so only pay to those persons if you trust them. One,
Mhm,
if you want to save money,
mhm.
okay, then you wake up on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
Okay, every Monday morning there are hundreds of slots available, but they go in a hour's time between 6 to 7, and after 7 you find nothing. Okay,
So
so
6
login.
a.m. to 7 a.m. on a Monday.
Yes. So the DVSA's website switches off every night at 11:40,
Mhm.
and they switch it on again at 6 a.m. But you won't find anything other than a Monday.
And how far in advance would these slots become available for?
Let's say if it was today,
Mhm.
you could be looking mid of June.
Okay.
Okay. So I would still say that don't think it's too far.
Hmm.
I know too many people who think that they need the test in, let's say, 3, 4 weeks' time.
Hmm.
Then they go there, then they fail it because they overestimated themselves.
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
so it's better to book in a normal way and go. But the last thing in this one is the DVSA has announced that they're going to stop these bulk bookings in this summer. So hopefully, if it worked, it will be quite easy to book, let's say, in 3 week in advance or 4 week in advance.
inshallah,
And
inshallah.
similar applies to the driving instructor tests as well.
Perfect. What's the general wait for the driving test, so instructors test bookings?
Again, in these days, part two and part three you generally find in a 3 months time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Before we move on to a few more questions,
sure.
there's 10 minutes, just over 10 minutes remaining of the session. Um,
Okay.
Shortly, one of our colleagues, Imran Sab, will share a poll. Um,
Okay.
and if you could just give us a review, and this really helps us to just sort of concentrate on the elements that people want improved. So going forward, we'll use that to improve our talks. So Asan Sab, the
Yeah.
another question was, what for an instructor, what
Yeah.
are their monthly running costs if they're doing the job full time?
Okay. If they're doing the full-time job, first of all, it's a car.
Yep.
Okay. Again, it's every individual's situation. Some people own their car; they're not on the installment. So, in the mm, let's say, because sometimes people have to lease it. Okay, so let's say if you are leasing, for example, AA is the one of the biggest providers around us. Okay, so if you don't want to have your car, or if you don't have your car at all, and you want to have a very nice good car, let's say within the 6 month time, so it's a new one. Okay, so I mean registered within the 6 months as new, so you can contact OAA, and their very basic one is a 159 a week.
Mhm.
Okay, up to 214 a week. So it all depends about the specs of that car. Okay, if you need those ones. So that is renting from a school. Okay, leasing. So they do minimum 12 month or max 24-month contracts. Or if you can buy your own car, again it depends upon, let's say, 7 8 thousand pound a car would be okay for that. Okay, so
Mhm.
that is one thing. Then it's the insurance, which I told you will only be a little bit higher in the first first 2 years. Then it gone down to about £600 on average. Then the running cost, the only running cost is the petrol, or if you have electric car, then obviously it's a charging one. Okay, and the maintenance. Okay, if you
Mhm.
have a good car, it does not require being alone, thinking that oh some it's an instructor's car and every type of um, people are driving it. It does not make any difference. Okay, I don't have much costs about repair unless I delay it and it has to be repaired again.
Mhm.
Okay. So there are no big costs other than the fuel, because obviously you're driving it, so fuel is all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Um, and then since I wanted to maybe ask a few more questions on the business side of this.
Sure.
You, is there additional costs to setting up the business side of it as well? And how do you manage that? And how
As
long
a,
would it take you, or how many instructors would you think you would need for the business to be sort of financially stable and for you to sort of uh,
I would say to drive a very good school, you may only need 3 or 4 instructors, and you can be well off with that. Okay. But obviously, if you want to expand it, I know some people have about 20, some have 10. So 10 is a very good number. 20 is more than good.
mhm,
Okay. But I would say that if you're looking for a good running, so about 5 6 is more than enough. Okay, so you
yeah,
can run a very good business with that. Okay, and obviously you can charge them franchise fee. All depends who's working part time and who's working full time.
yeah. Um,
In terms of licensing or anything, there's no additional license required for that. So
mhm,
your own ADI badge allows you to set up a business. If you want to, let's say, register a limited company, it only takes about £60, I think, to register a company.
yeah,
And if you want to hire an accountant, okay, it's again as a minicab, you already have accountant, so it's a similar cost.
mhm.
Whatever you pay to your accountant is you pay the same.
No problem. So Asan Saab, we had just an interesting question come through.
Okay.
I think I have an answer to this in my mind, but
Yep.
obviously I'll let you answer it.
Sure.
Why should a driver stay with a driving school and not open their own business? So I guess the question more is asking what additional responsibilities does the business owner have
Okay.
a driving instructor wouldn't have, and sort of what's the incentive to not have a business as opposed to your
Okay.
position?
The incentive, I would say, the thing is, people, if they don't want to take that pain, if they don't want to take that burden, okay,
Sure.
and they don't want to come out of their comfort zone,
Yeah.
okay, so they can stay
Yeah.
as much as they can put their time in. Okay, in terms of additional responsibilities, being an owner of a school, you if you are answering your calls on yourself, okay,
Hmm.
then first thing is you have to be available with the phone.
Hmm.
Then you're distributing the jobs
Hmm.
between the among the instructors, so you have to be careful that you do that with justice. Okay, you take care of your instructors equally and treat them equally. Okay, then if anybody, let's say, instructor wants to go to a holiday, or they're not feeling very well, so you have to accommodate their students, means spreading them in between the other instructors. So
Yeah.
these type of responsibilities. If I
Yeah.
just give one more answer for this,
Please.
there are some services available. If you don't want to take that headache, it
Mm.
costs you from £95 a month to 150 a month,
Hmm.
and those services called driving instructor services.
Hmm.
Okay, so you can have a full package, you can have a part package. There's all of details on their website. Okay, and they can answer the calls under your name. Let's say my school's name is a Wandsworth Driving School.
Yeah.
Okay, if I hire them and I pay them that money, whichever package I would have, somebody calls to my school, they will pick up and they will say, hello, it's a Wandsworth Driving School.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're answering it under my name, and then they talk to that person, they get the details, and they allocate one instructor. Okay, again, it depends upon the package, which package you have. If you have a full-fledged package, so they can sort out all of your problems and you don't need to do anything.
And Asan Saab, is there scope for you, let's say personally, and
Yeah,
I guess people listening as well, like would you ever have like an app? Do you think that's a worthwhile cost for you? How would you sort of enhance
I
maybe the
would I
technology
would
side of it?
strongly prefer it.
Yeah,
Okay, but I'll have to think about the cost as well. So
yeah,
if I can find a cheaper quotation, I
yeah.
would definitely go for that.
Okay, okay. And is there anything else you have in mind to maybe help anyone listening for the business setup side? Because I understand obviously there's risks to it. Your reputation's on the line every time you get
Yes.
an instructor, going under your umbrella. Is there any advice you'd give on to people who want to become business owners and on how to manage the risk?
Okay. I would say that 5 pound altogether, 10 pounds, and you got everything. Other than that, because it's a Jamaat forum, so I'm available as well. If people want to contact me for information, there's no charge at all. For we only charge for lessons, not for advice. Okay, so they can come anytime. They can feel free to contact for any information, any question, no matter how many questions you want to ask. We're always happy to help our brothers.
That's really helpful. I think that will conclude the session. Tommy Saab, are you able to just lead us in silent prayer?
Okay, Jazakallah Hassan Saab, mashallah, very, very helpful, very interactive, lots of questions, and as one member said, there are lots of food for thought. So may Allah bless you, may Allah bless Waji as well for facilitating such a wonderful session. Hopefully everybody gained from that, and yeah, without further ado, because almost Isha time, let us join hands in silent prayer, please.
Okay.
Hello, Mami.
Um,
Amin.
Jazakumullah khairan,
See you all next week, inshallah, for next session.
inshallah.